Occidental College in California is considering instituting a system for students to report so-called microaggressions perpetrated against them on campus. Microaggressions are statements that intentionally or unintentionally send a negative message related to someone's membership in a marginalized group. We visited campus to ask Occidental students if they agree that the following statements could be considered microaggressions. They've all been documented as such on a college campus somewhere in the United States. Have you heard of the term microaggression?
Yeah, that's a big thing on campus. If we see large-scale violence, we can name that as a macroaggression, but the way that we devalue that violence, the way that we silence that violence, that's a microaggression.
I'm asking an Asian American, where were you born?
Yes.
Very, very contextual, you know?
That's not a microaggression, that's just asking where they were born.
Telling a black student that he or she is very articulate.
That is, yeah. Yes.
What about saying all lives matter?
I think because the history behind Black Lives Matter, it's kind of like appropriating a statement that was created specifically to talk about Black lives being lost to police brutality, so that is.
I'm colorblind, I don't see race.
Possibly?
I believe the most qualified person should get the job.
Qualifications aren't really the only thing you should consider when hiring someone.
If you're saying that the most qualified person is someone who is not a minority or not of a religion you believe in, then yes, that'd be a microaggression.
Saying God bless you after somebody sneezes.
Oh, that would be a microaggression because of different religions.
Yeah, it could be a microaggression to someone who doesn't believe in God.
I think that the harm there is relatively minimal.
So there's still some harm though.
I would say there's not harm, but if it's being asked, clearly someone found.
Maybe mini microaggression.
Perhaps.
Do you see any downside to creating a database full of statements that faculty and students make to each other in terms of protecting free speech values on campus?
Not in terms of protecting free speech value, but the idea of a database certainly raises eyebrows.
So yes, we do need a system where we can report our experiences, and that like a system of education or whatever.
I would say it's good to have it in place, but to have like harsh actions against it, it wouldn't be beneficial to student life here.
It'll make a safer environment. So I fully support the council, and I think it's really great that the faculty is taking this initiative because it wasn't one of the demands. The faculty on their own said, like, we're going to do this because we believe it's what we should be doing.
Mm-hmm. They went above and beyond to police hate speech.
I think so in some respects.
Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter!
Protests are erupting on college campuses across the country as students demand that administrators address racial grievances through mandatory sensitivity training courses, hiring of more diverse faculty members, and the resignation of insufficiently responsive college presidents.
Change comes from listening, learning, caring.
Video captured at Yale University show a student shouting down a professor trying to engage her in conversation about the role of faculty in regulating students' Halloween costumes.
It is not about creating an intellectual space! It is not!
This professor's wife, also a faculty member, later resigned from Yale, saying, "The current climate at Yale is not, in my view, conducive to civil dialogue and open inquiry." Another clip out of the University of Missouri shows students and at least one professor pushing journalists out of their self-styled safe space.
You're pushing me! You need to get out! You need to get out!
No, I don't.
While these protesters are clearly exercising their First Amendment rights, images such as these have led more and more observers to wonder whether or not college students care about the free speech rights of others. What are your thoughts on the concept of free speech? Do you support free speech?
Yes, I do support free speech. And Oxy is an environment that also supports differing opinions.
Free speech allows you to have new input constantly, and I think that's like a really big part of the community here at Oxy.
Obama has actually encouraged this, saying that instead of college students being coddled, they should have these active discussions so that they can learn something new and change their viewpoints a little bit.
Too much censorship would give a lot of power to few individuals, and I believe in a more even distribution of power.
I think that everyone should be able to say what they believe and what's on their mind.
Most of the students we spoke with seemed to defend free speech in principle, if not always in practice. But one organizer of the previous week's protests viewed even the concept of free speech with deep suspicion.
Those using the rhetoric of free speech are individuals who already are
in positions of power who are creating history, who are creating these dominant narratives. Free speech conceptually is about this idea of equality, that everyone can have the right to say something, but that's not the way our society works. That's not the way this college campuses work. We only hear the same reiteration of particular voices over and over again, and that's white students' voices. That's President Veach's voice.
A recent Pew poll found that 95% of Americans believe citizens should have the right to criticize government policies publicly. But the numbers weaken when you start talking about offensive speech. 40% of millennials polled believe that the government should be able to prevent people from making statements that are offensive to minority groups, for instance.
If it's a racist remark or something that tries to stir up the public, I think that should be stopped.
I think if the speech involves a threat or involves violence of any type, then that should not be allowed. But other than that, I don't think there should be a regulation on that.
Personally, I think that if you ever say someone, I hate you because you're so-and-so, that should not be allowed. In a way, it's free speech, but in a way, again, it's a hate crime. If you're saying you're a lesser person because you're Muslim, Jewish, Christian, Catholic, any of the above, that's not okay, and that's a hate crime.
That's the other thing about free speech. When I say that it's about power and privilege, it only enables things like hate speech, because it makes it seem that everything that we say has equal weight, when that's not true.
Don't want to single out Donald Trump, but his approach to this political campaign, saying we should monitor mosques, we should build this wall and keep out all the Mexicans because they bring their gangs, they bring all their crime. That kind of speech is really hurtful to those people for no reason, just because he wants to get his views across. And
But Donald Trump shouldn't be allowed to say those things.
Personally, I wouldn't say so, just because like a lot of other people, I don't really think that he has the capabilities of being a president.
What kind of repercussions would you like to see for hate speech violations?
No, I haven't really thought about that, to be honest. I think that in no way should we send someone to prison for that, but I think that there should be protection of people who are being attacked.
What we say in terms of hate speech has incredible weight, right? Because it's intimately linked to violence against people of color. It's intimately linked to the prison industrial complex.
Do you think free speech is valued on this campus?
Yeah, I think it is.
You feel that free speech is alive and well on the campus of Occidental?
Yes.
The only thing that I do know now is that we're in a position where you can't ignore what's going on this campus. And that's kind of the bottom line. So students have been turning a blind eye for a while now. Whether or not they're using a justification of free speech, that's on them.
If I were to sneeze and you said, "God bless you" to me, could that be a microaggression?
I want to say no, but at the same time, I guess it would count.